survived. I am not a victim. I am the victor. I'm alive, alive, alive.
This is the start of a long journey towards justice.
Has a motive for robbery, and I believe he was killed in part because he was gay.
A Hays County jury deliberated on the case.
Has a motive for robbery,
a Texas State University
and I believe he was killed in part because he was gay.
Led to a tragic crash in August 2016. The collision claimed the lives of 23-year-old Fabian Guerrero Moreno and his son, Fabian James Guerrero. Elliot, who was 21 at the time, had been tubing on the San Marcos River, drinking heavily throughout the day. With a blood alcohol content of 0.199, more than twice the legal limit, she crossed the center line on Highway 21, colliding head-on with the car carrying Fabian and his pregnant wife, Christian Guerrero. Christian survived the crash, but suffered serious injuries and the heartbreaking loss of her husband and son.
As soon as the accident happened, I knew that I had made the worst decision ever.
During the trial, Elliot took the stand to express remorse, calling her decision to drink and drive the worst choice of her life. She apologized to the Guerrero family and asked for forgiveness, acknowledging the pain she caused. Elliot also shared details of her difficult upbringing, including the loss of her father, an abusive stepfather, and her mother's struggles with bipolar disorder.
Do you regret that decision?
Yes.
It was a bad decision, wasn't it?
The worst.
Her defense team argued that she was deeply remorseful and could use her experience to educate others, presenting testimony from supporters like Jamie Haynes, the mother of her ex-boyfriend, who described Elliot as someone who had made a terrible mistake but was not a bad person.
I think she will talk to people. I think she will use this to help other people. She's not a bad person. She made a horrible decision, and it was a horrible mistake, and it caused a horrible outcome.
The prosecution, however, emphasized the seriousness of her actions and urged the jury to impose a strong sentence to deter others from drunk driving. In March 2018, Elliot pleaded guilty to 2 counts of intoxication manslaughter and 1 count of intoxication assault. The jury sentenced her to 7 years for each manslaughter charge, totaling 14 years to be served consecutively. She also received 10 years of probation for the intoxication assault charge. As part of her probation, she was ordered to spend time in jail each year on the anniversary of the crash, underscoring the long-lasting consequences of her actions. As of December 2024, Elliot remains in prison, serving her 14-year sentence. She will be eligible for parole after serving half of each sentence, meaning she could potentially be released after 7 years, including time already served. A woman accused of driving under the influence and causing the deaths of 2 girls appeared in court 1 week after being arrested. 38-year-old Abone Whitaker had missed her initial 2 court dates due to injuries she sustained in the crash. During the hearing, it was disclosed that Whitaker, a mother of 5 who has lived in Las Vegas for 15 years, had recently begun a new job. She now faces serious charges, including reckless driving and DUI, resulting in the deaths of Citlali Mora and Nelly Amaya Ramirez. The arrest report indicates that witnesses and video footage captured Whitaker hitting a sign, striking the 2 girls at the intersection of Katy Avenue and Maryland Parkway, and then continuing to drive on the sidewalk before crashing into another vehicle waiting at a red light. Whitaker later admitted to consuming beer, PCP, meth, marijuana, and heroin before getting behind the wheel.
I am granting the state's request at this particular juncture to hold you detained due to the egregious nature of what is going on, your extreme risk to the community. I'm going to set a preliminary hearing in 2 weeks.
The judge also revealed that Whitaker had 41 misdemeanor convictions dating back to 2005 and 18 prior instances of failing to appear in court. Since she will not be released from jail, she is scheduled to return to court on August 24th. A woman who was attacked and nearly killed in a parking garage had the chance to confront her attacker in court. The assault, which took place in an Ybor City parking garage, was an attempted rape and murder that left her fighting for her life. 2 years after that horrific event, the victim stood strong and turned the tables on her assailant by speaking out in court. She expressed how crucial it was for her to face him and share her story. Over the past 2 years, she has worked tirelessly to rebuild her life, and today, she wanted to let her attacker know just how much what she has endured and lost.
I survived.
You're hearing the voice of a woman who has endured unimaginable trauma.
I am not a victim, I am the victor.
Reclaiming the power that the man attempted to strip away from her.
I'm alive, alive, alive. I lived to tell the truth.
In many cases, the identities of assault survivors are kept confidential to protect their privacy. However, Heidi Damon requested that she share hers.
Overall, I feel great.
She believes that if anyone should feel ashamed to be seen, it shouldn't be her. It should be this man.
See, you're already ashamed. You can't even look at me.
2 years ago, Javon Cooper attacked Heidi in a parking garage in Ybor City. Although she was physically assaulted, the trauma of the incident left her with chronic headaches, kept her out of work for a year, and shattered her sense of security.
Nice to put you away.
Reclaiming that sense of security is precisely why Heidi confronted her attacker at his sentencing, delivering a message of defiance to him and offering hope to others.
So many times victims hide under their covers and no one gets helped by that. And if I don't talk, how can I help somebody?
What you have done to me is unforgivable. So don't expect me 20, 30, 40, 50 years or on my deathbed to ever say, I forgive you.
Javon Cooper received a 15-year prison sentence as part of a plea agreement, which also includes 10 years of probation to be served upon his release. The judge expressed that if it were up to him, he would have sentenced Cooper to life in prison. The drunk driver who took the life of a young mother and left her daughter, Summer Mall, critically injured, is now seeking to overturn her plea deal. Cheryl Riemann has only served a third of her 15-year prison sentence, which she had initially agreed to. This ongoing appeal and hearing have left Summer Mall's family frustrated and infuriated. Tammy Rosian hasn't seen Cheryl Riemann in 5 years and never imagined she would find herself back in the courtroom, hearing a complete change of stance from the woman who killed her daughter, Jennifer, and critically injured her granddaughter.
Now, your attorneys, did they encourage you to take a plea?
In 2008, a tearful Riemann admitted her responsibility for driving drunk and causing the wrong-way crash on the Crosstown Expressway. Jennifer tragically lost her life just 1 day before her 25th birthday, while Summer has undergone more than 30 surgeries and still requires additional procedures. Doctors have indicated that Summer will never fully recover.
Did you meet with your attorneys before the plea hearing at all?
Not 100% sure.
Tammy describes that claim as a blatant lie, and Riemann's former defense attorney, who is now testifying for the prosecution, agrees. The attorney states that she met with Riemann at least 20 times.
She did not want to go to trial in this case. From the beginning, she was very upset about what happened.
Riemann now claims she was unaware she could receive such a severe sentence. Although the judge has already dismissed that argument, he is considering another claim from Riemann's attorney, which questions the legality of her blood samples. Tammy describes this as ridiculous.
That she's very selfish. I don't think we deserve to go through this again.
Tammy intends to be present at every hearing, but Summer will not attend. Tammy explains that it would be too difficult for her, as Summer is now old enough to understand the magnitude of this devastating loss.
Do I feel sorry for her? No. Do I think she should get out early? No.
The judge has taken the matter under advisement and could issue a decision anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. If the motion is denied, Riemann will have 30 days to appeal. However, if the judge grants it, this could result in a new trial. The teen, accused of murdering his grandmother at her home in St. Petersburg, is currently undergoing a mental evaluation. Between discussions involving the judge and the attorneys, the question arose about whether the family would prefer a court-appointed doctor to assess him. They chose instead to have a private doctor conduct the evaluation. When the teen entered the courtroom, he approached the judge, who asked him how he was doing, to which he replied, "Good." The court has determined that there is probable cause for his second-degree murder charges and ruled that he will remain in juvenile detention until at least December 16th, which is his next court date. During the proceedings, his family members were present. They were visibly emotional and offered him words of comfort, telling him not to be afraid.
Love you, baby. God got you, and keep praying, baby. I want my son.
family members stood outside the crime scene, grieving the loss of Gloria Davis. Early Monday morning, around 3:30 a.m., police responded to a call at Davis's home in St. Petersburg, where they found her body. Authorities report that her grandson is accused of the stabbing. Friends remember Gloria Davis as a devoted churchgoer and a longtime postal service worker who had lived in her home for over 20 years. The state attorney's office shared that it is still too soon to determine whether the teen will be charged as an adult. In a surprising turn of events, an accused killer is being given a second chance at freedom. The Florida Supreme Court has just overturned the conviction of Joseph Bearden, who was found guilty of the brutal murder of a Bay Area college student. Bearden has spent the past 6 years in prison for his alleged involvement in the 2007 killing of Ryan Skipper. Skipper was murdered on the side of a Polk County road, and authorities classified the attack as a hate crime, as Skipper was gay. Bearden's case is now heading back to court. Earlier in downtown Tampa, his attorneys reviewed the Florida Supreme Court's 21-page order, which came down around 11 a.m. The ruling officially reverses his conviction. Meanwhile, the victim's parents, Ryan Skipper's family, are in shock. They expressed how this decision has reopened a painful wound they believed had finally begun to heal.
The defendant is guilty of second-degree murder.
In 2009, a Polk County jury found Joseph Bearden guilty and sentenced him to life in prison for his involvement in the murder of Ryan Skipper. The trial drew national attention as the sheriff, judge, and prosecutors all argued that Skipper was targeted due to his sexual orientation.
I believe he was killed in part as a motive to robbery, and I believe he was killed in part because he was gay.
Now, Bearden's murder conviction has been overturned after pro bono attorneys filed an appeal with the Florida Supreme Court nearly a year ago. They contended that a key element of his defense was unfairly dismissed by the judge.
He admitted that he had some guilt in it. He did not kill that boy. I'll never believe it. You can't make me believe it.
Bearden was never accused of wielding the knife himself. Instead, he was charged with being present when Bill Brown stabbed Ryan Skipper and left his body in Waneta in 2007. A third man, Ray Allen Brown, claims that Bill confessed to him and told detectives that he was involved, not Bearden, a confession that the jury never got to hear.
The confession of that other man was never allowed into Mr. Bearden's trial. And the Florida Supreme Court said today that due process entitled him to have that confession of the other man come in.
Polk County prosecutors are set to retry Bearden after all these years. A spokesperson from the Polk County State Attorney's Office stated that they are reviewing the order and fully intend to pursue a retrial. The cyberbullying suicide case in Polk County is drawing increased attention as one of the suspects appeared in court alongside her new high-profile attorney. While one of the accused faced the judge, new evidence emerged in the case. Meanwhile, high-profile attorney Jose Baez publicly criticized the sheriff, sparking a heated exchange of words.
She is not what her mugshot or what the headlines are portraying her to be.
The girl accused of bullying appeared visibly nervous as she briefly faced a judge, accompanied by her high-profile attorney, Jose Baez. Speaking to reporters, Baez stated that his client feels terrible about Rebecca's death, but maintains that it was the other suspect who sent most of the hateful messages.
I'm still waiting to see the connection between my client's behavior and the death of Rebecca.
Jose Baez, the attorney who rose to fame for representing Casey Anthony, sparked a fierce clash with Sheriff Grady Judd today by taking a defiant stance and insisting on his client's innocence.
We got page after page after page of data.
Sheriff Grady Judd presented additional evidence to justify the arrests of the two girls accused of tormenting Rebecca Sedgwick with cruel and hateful messages, which eventually led her to take her own life by jumping to her death at an old cement plant. The sheriff released social media chat logs from the suspects. In the messages shared after Rebecca's death, Baez's client wrote, "I feel like Rebecca's dead because of me. If only I could say I'm sorry," and later expressed deep remorse, saying, "I deserve to die. I wish it was me and not her."
Get over trying to show she didn't do something she did and start trying to help that child so that she's a productive citizen.
Baez is working to separate his client from the actions of the other girl involved. The identities of the girls have not been disclosed, as they are being charged as juveniles.
It's one thing to make an arrest and let the prosecutors and the court system work itself out, It's another thing to make an arrest and then go make the round.
Sheriff Judd suggested that this flashy attorney from out of town should focus on negotiating a plea deal.
I'll help him practice law a little bit here if he promises not to have the state attorney arrest me.
Jose Baez's client was scheduled for arraignment, but the state requested additional time to review evidence, so she will return alongside the other suspect in the case. The attorney for the other suspect has already filed a written not guilty plea. Baez maintains that his client is as much a victim in this situation as she is a defendant. Torian Hudson, a 22-year-old from Detroit, has faced mounting legal troubles stemming from a series of violent incidents. His troubles began in December 2022, when he was accused of a violent carjacking at a gas station on Livernois Avenue. During the incident, Hudson allegedly assaulted, and robbed a 19-year-old woman and her mother before leading police on a high-speed chase. Initially held on a $1 million bond, Hudson's bail was later reduced to $250,000, which allowed him to be released. While out on bond, Hudson was arrested again in January 2023 for another alleged crime. This time, he was accused of harming the mother of his son, with claims of physical aggression and misuse of household cleaning supplies. The seriousness of these allegations led to an emergency bond revocation hearing where the judge decided to keep him in custody, emphasizing the potential risk he posed to the community.
We believe that he is a danger to the community just given the nature of these allegations.
In February 2023, Hudson's mother spoke in his defense during court proceedings, arguing that he was not a danger and highlighting his health struggles, including sickle cell disease.
He does suffer from sickle cell anemia. He indicates that he's in a ton of pain and that he's suffering from asthma as well.
Despite her plea, the court reaffirmed its decision to detain Hudson, emphasizing the serious nature of the charges against him. Prosecutor Kim Worthy expressed frustration over Hudson's escalating actions, stating, "Sadly, one does not have to be clairvoyant to know that we would see Mr. Hudson again. Even more tragic is the fact that 2 more women had to suffer from his alleged behavior." Hudson now faces multiple charges, including assault with intent to cause great bodily harm, use of a harmful device to cause injury, and domestic violence. As of December 2024, he remains in custody, awaiting trial. The court has stressed the importance of protecting the community and addressing the needs of his victims as the legal process unfolds. Amber Maltese, 42, pleaded no contest to second-degree murder after a lengthy legal process influenced by her mental health diagnoses, including Asperger's syndrome, post-traumatic stress disorder, and depressive disorders.
Maltese, how do you wish to plead? No contest.
Although she did not personally fire the fatal shot, Maltese was charged under state law, which allows for accountability when a death occurs during the commission of a felony. The case centered on the death of Morgan McNeil, whom Maltese was accused of encouraging her boyfriend to do. As part of the plea agreement, she avoided a potential life sentence. In addition to her prison term, Maltese was ordered to pay $11,000 in court costs and restitution.
I'm committing you to the Department of Corrections for 30 years.
Circuit Judge Tisha Ballou sentenced Maltese to 30 years in prison. She is expected to be in her mid-60s when she is released. Upon her release, she will face 20 years of supervised probation with mandatory mental health treatment as needed. The tragic case of Preston Lord, who was fatally assaulted during a Halloween party in Queen Creek, Arizona, continues to unfold with significant legal developments. Lord was attacked in October 2023, following a confrontation that reportedly began over the theft of a necklace. He succumbed to his injuries shortly after, leading to an extensive investigation and eventual arrests. 7 individuals have been charged in connection with Lord's death. William Owen Hines, 19, Dominic Turner, 20, Taylor Sherman, 19, Talon Renner, 17, Talon Vigil, 17, Jacob Meisner, 17, and Treston Billy, 18. All suspects face charges of first-degree murder and kidnapping, with additional charges of aggravated robbery against Turner and Meisner. Court documents and text messages have revealed chilling details about the events leading to Lord's death. One message allegedly sent by Renner read, "Got in a fight, killed a boy. Guess I don't know my own strength." Such evidence has intensified public scrutiny of the case. 3 of the suspects, Dylann Roof, Jacob Mize, and Dominique Turn, recently appeared in court seeking to have their $1 million bonds reduced. Attorneys for the defendants presented arguments emphasizing their client's behavior and lack of risk to the community. Mize's lawyer highlighted his exceptional behavior while in custody and claimed he was not involved in the fight that led to Lord's death. Runner's attorney argued that he posed no flight risk or danger to the community, while Turner's legal team stressed his clean criminal record.
This defendant is the one who is, in many ways, one of, or if not the catalyst that started this. He says he doesn't have a violent history, yet it's this defendant that went after victim A and was involved in ripping the chain from his neck and taking that. It's this defendant that then goes down the street and participates in the assault.
The prosecution presented evidence suggesting the defendants played significant roles in the crime. Prosecutors argued that these individuals acted as catalysts in the events that unfolded, ultimately resulting in Lord's death. All defendants have pleaded not guilty. Several suspects in Preston Lord's murder case had their bonds reduced. Taylor Sherman, $250,000. Treston Billy, $500,000. Talon Vigil, $1 million. Dominic Turner, $250,000. And Talon Renner, $500,000 were released, while Jacob Meisner, $350,000, and William Owen Hines, no reduction, remain in custody. A trial date has been set for July 2025, keeping the Lord family and the community waiting for justice. The long fight for justice in the murder of Allison Feldman, who was killed in her Scottsdale home over 9 years ago, has taken another significant turn.
And I'm going to be here every day to make sure that her case is adjudicated correctly.
The Arizona Supreme Court recently addressed a key legal dispute surrounding DNA evidence that linked Ian Mitchum, a twice-convicted felon, to the crime.
It's probably one of the biggest advancements in my time.
The DNA connection came from a blood sample Mitchum had provided during a prior DUI arrest.
This issue came up at the last minute, and it's caused all of these appeals.
However, his defense argued that police violated legal protocols by retaining the sample beyond the required 90-day period without obtaining a warrant.
If they want to try to do this investigation properly, they can try to do it, but they've done it poorly up until now, and the evidence that they've collected is tainted.
This argument had previously led an appeals court to rule the evidence inadmissible, causing delays in Mitchum's trial, which had been scheduled for 2023. Prosecutors, however, maintained that as a convicted felon, Mitchum's DNA would inevitably have been available in a law enforcement database.
And so it's form over function to say, well, they didn't retake the sample to develop the profile that's in the database. I could take another sample today, and it will result in the same profile.
In a recent hearing, Arizona Supreme Court justices questioned both sides before ultimately reversing the lower court's decision. Their ruling now permits the contested DNA evidence to be used, allowing the prosecution to proceed with its case against Mitchum.
I feel pretty good. Didn't go exactly like I expected it to. But they did a good job, and I feel good about the outcome.
For Allison's family, this ruling offers a glimmer of hope after years of waiting for accountability. While they remain steadfast in their commitment to justice, they acknowledge that the legal process is far from over. The tragic shooting of 20-year-old Elijah Ricardo Clooney inside a Dorchester barbershop has left his family and community heartbroken. On September 2nd, 2024, Elijah was fatally shot while sitting in a barber's chair at the exclusive barbershop on Washington Street. Another man was also injured in the attack, but is expected to recover.
The shooter exits that car, walks right into the barbershop, and fatally shoots Mr. Clooney.
Investigators revealed that the suspect, 32-year-old Diamond Jose Brito, entered the barbershop earlier that day to ask about the wait time for a haircut. He left and returned 20 to 30 minutes later, walked up to Elijah, and a single fatal shot to his head. Brito then shot at the second victim before fleeing the scene.
He was gifted in every way. He was special in every single way. And I'm his uncle and I loved him. That's his mother.
All people wanted from him, they loved him.
He was a rapper.
So many
he was a brother. He was my nephew.
Elijah's family has been vocal about their pain, describing him as a talented and beloved young man. His mother, Mario Odessa, expressed the devastating loss, saying, "No family should have to feel this pain."
That little coward that took his life is because he was a coward. He's alive, right? And that his mother doesn't have to feel my pain. I'm glad.
No family should have to feel this pain.
This is the start of a long journey towards justice for her and her family and for Elijah.
Suffolk County District Attorney Kevin Hayden acknowledged the profound impact of Elijah's death on his family and the community. He pledged to support the family through the legal process.
There may never be enough words to describe how horrible this is, how much it's devastated community.
One of them, the chosen one.
After weeks of investigation, Brito was arrested on October 10, 2024, in Mattapan by the Boston Police Fugitive Unit, with assistance from the Massachusetts State Police and U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. At the time of the shooting, Brito was on federal supervised release following a previous narcotics trafficking conviction. He now faces charges including murder and multiple firearms offenses. During his arraignment in Dorchester District Court, Brito pleaded not guilty and was held without bail. His next court appearance is scheduled. The Boston Police Department continues to investigate the case and urges anyone with information to come forward. In December 2019, a tragic shooting occurred at the Belton Woods apartment complex in Anderson, South Carolina, claiming the life of 23-year-old Daniel Jimenez. The shooting also endangered others, as shots were fired into a car full of people at the complex. The incident shocked the local community and initiated an investigation into the circumstances leading to this fatal event. Shortly after the incident, Anderson police arrested two boys, Zachary Tost and Carlos Jimenez, the younger brother of the victim, Daniel Jimenez.
Tost, good morning. Mr. Tost, on warrant number 2019-AO4207, 1359, sir, you've been charged with attempted murder. On warrant number 1360, you've been charged with attempted murder. On warrant number 1361, sir, you've been charged with attempted murder. And on warrant number 1362, sir, you've been charged with attempted murder. On warrant number 1363, you were charged with possession of a dangerous weapon during a violent crime.
Tost faced multiple charges, including attempted murder and possession of a dangerous weapon during a violent crime.
Mr. Jimenez, good morning. Mr. Jimenez, where do you live, please, sir? Okay, do you work or go to school?
I used to work, sir, then I started going to, I started working, sir, then I started, I started going to school, then I started working.
All right, Mr. Jimenez, sir, you've been charged under warrant number 1358 for possession of a weapon during a violent crime, warrant number 1354 for attempted murder, warrant number 1355 attempted murder, warrant number 1356 attempted murder, and warrant number 1357 attempted murder. These are all serious charges and will be heard in General Sessions Court.
Jimenez was also charged with several serious offenses, including multiple counts of attempted murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime.
Mr. Tost, I'm going to deny your bond.
Sir, please.
Can we please just talk, sir?
Talk.
Before you do that, sir.
Before you do that.
Sure, Miss Lieutenant, come on up and investigate a bond if you would come up, please. Yes, ma'am.
My son is in need of medical.
They ain't giving me my medicine, sir.
He has
I asked for it. And sir, it was self-defense.
Well, don't tell.
I'm not trying.
He's not a flight risk.
I just want to go home.
He's not a
as
flight
soon
risk.
as they called me yesterday and told me they was coming to pick me up,
we cooperated.
All right, Miss.
You have no worries
Tost.
of him being here. I will sign my life over for
Miss
you.
Tost.
That he will be here in court.
arguing.
Okay.
I'm just letting him comfort him know that he will be here.
Please. We've got a situation here, Ms.
Yes,
Tosh.
because there are people out there.
We are the victims, sir.
They're the victims.
And this boy right here.
Though his brother was murdered. They
Put him in
shot
front of us.
All right, I'm
They
going
shot
to
him.
suggest
and
to
those
you.
people have hands that run deep.
Shortly after their arrest, Zachary Tost and Carlos Jimenez appeared before a judge during a bond hearing. Both defendants claimed the shooting was an act of self-defense. Tost's mother attended the hearing, pleading with the court for her son's release. Despite their assertions, the judge denied bond for both boys, citing the severity of the charges. The emotional proceedings underscored the gravity of the situation. Over the course of the investigation and legal proceedings, the charges against Zachary Tost were dismissed. No further details about the dismissal were provided in public records. Meanwhile, Carlos Jimenez accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to a lesser charge of possession of a weapon during a violent crime. As part of the plea agreement, he was sentenced to 3 years in a boot camp program. However, it was later reported that Jimenez remains incarcerated for reasons that have not been disclosed publicly. On January 16, 2020, tragedy struck in Anderson, South Carolina, when Christopher Dylann Patterson was fatally shot on Farmer Street. Another individual sustained non-life-threatening injuries in the same incident. The shooting was described as a senseless act of violence by authorities, and the community was deeply shaken. Christian James Elijah Kemp, who was 18 years old at the time, was quickly identified as the primary suspect.
Is that correct, sir? Mr. Kemp, good afternoon. You've got several charges here. I'm going to read them to you. And you're welcome to sit down, ma'am, if you want to. You've been charged with murder. You've been charged with possession of a weapon during a violent crime, and also assault and battery, second degree.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to give you some instructions. I told you you had a right to a trial by jury, you have the right to a lawyer, you have the right to a court-appointed lawyer. Is the victim's advocate here, or
Yes, sir.
You want to add in, or is the sergeant going to deal with it? Okay. Sergeant Anderson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Do you have any statement you wish to make?
The only thing that I will say in connection with this investigation is that, by all accounts, this is another senseless act of violence that has claimed the life of an individual.
Thank you. Mr. Kemp, do you want me to appoint a lawyer for you, or do you have a lawyer? I'm going to appoint one for you. I'm going to appoint one for you, and if you choose not to take that lawyer, then, of course, you have a right to get your own lawyer. Oh, have you got two of them?
He was arrested on January 17, 2020, and faced multiple charges, including murder, possession of a weapon during a violent crime, and assault and battery second degree.
That's representing the victim's advocate, able to make bond at a later date. You have no contact with this person until this matter is cleared up. That's part of your bond.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Is there anything else the victim's advocate or the investigating sergeant?
No, sir, not.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Yes,
All right, Mr. Kemp. Got several things to sign. This first one right here.
During Kemp's initial bond hearing, the court heard the gravity of the charges against him. The judge cited the severity of the crime and its impact on the community as reasons to deny bond, ensuring that Kemp would remain in custody as the case proceeded. In August 2022, Kemp entered a plea agreement and pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter, reducing the initial murder charge. The court sentenced him to 30 years in prison. The sentencing brought some closure to the Patterson family, though the loss of Christopher Patterson remained an irreplaceable void. Kemp is currently serving his sentence at the Turbeville Correctional Institution in South Carolina. His projected release date is July 11, 2045. During his incarceration, Kemp has faced disciplinary actions, including sanctions for possessing or attempting to possess a cell phone and creating or assisting with a social networking site, highlighting challenges within the correctional system. Dee Warner, a Michigan resident and business owner, was well known for her dedication to her family and her work. She was described as a devoted mother who maintained close relationships with her daughter and son, especially her minor daughter, Lena. Dee also played a key role in managing her trucking and farming businesses.
Only a weekend without talking over the course of the last 5 years. Another consistent theme through the testimony was the state of Dale Warner and Dee Warner's marriage. It was volatile, there was a lot of fighting, a lot of yelling, and there was testimony regarding domestic violence in their relationship. Through Mr. Bush, the court learned of Dale placing a tracking device on Dee's vehicle with the help of Mr. Bush. Mr. Bush testified it was just for diagnostic purposes, but looking at the records, diagnostics was run twice, maybe 4 times. But the location tracker was run approximately 176 times. There were also cameras installed inside the house to watch who was coming and going. We heard from multiple witnesses, her children, Miss Alexander and Miss Vocal, that the 2016 Cadillac Escalade was Dee's primary vehicle. There was testimony from Mr. Newell, the senior technical expert at GM, that the OnStar system connected to the Cadillac Escalade, indicated that over the course of 16 months leading up to Dee's disappearance, there were 2,000 location searches for Dee Warner's vehicle. Mr. Warner asked Mr. Molzer to copy Dee's phone and all of its contents under a pretense of necessity because Dee was having a surgical procedure. He then further hid, or at the very least failed to disclose, that cloned phone to the MSP after they had a warrant. There was further testimony that there were physical signs and statements of domestic violence. Multiple witnesses saw Dee and Dale fight verbally. Miss Alexander said she saw them fighting a lot. Dee did a lot of the yelling. But Miss Vocal talked about seeing Dale yell at Dee and witnessing a fight where he was screaming in her face and his face was red. She also talked about a time at the end of 2020 where she saw a quarter-sized bruise on the side of Dee's forehead that was partially hidden by her hair where it was parted. The court learned more about that interaction from Dee's text messages to Miss Alexander that on December 6, 2020, Dee and Dale were in a physical altercation where Dale Warner threw Dee at a dresser. Dee Warner described him in those texts as turning into the devil and said, "I literally thought he could kill me." Miss Brody talked about 2 separate instances when Dee came in for full body massages, and Miss Brody saw bruises on Dee. Once when there was a bruise on Dee's hip that was the size of an orange. Dee told Miss Brody that she and Dale had a fight and he pushed her into a dresser, corroborating her text and Miss Vocal's testimony.
However, her marriage to Dale Warner was characterized by tension and volatility, with frequent fights and domestic violence. Witnesses recounted instances of Dale installing tracking devices on Dee's vehicle and cloning her phone under false pretenses. Surveillance records showed over 2,000 location searches for Dee's vehicle using OnStar. Friends and family testified to Dee's bruises from physical altercations, corroborated by texts to friends. Dee mentioned feeling controlled and expressed fears about her safety. Witnesses also revealed that when conflicts escalated, Dee would leave the farm temporarily, but always maintain communication with someone.
Another common sentiment was that Dale and Dee's relationship was coming to an end. There were numerous witnesses who testified to Dee's repeated desire to end the marriage in the months and days leading up to her disappearance. There was a visible disconnect between Dee and Dale. Miss Alexander and Miss Bach both testified that they saw when Dale tried to touch her shoulders, Dee would move away uncomfortably. Miss Brody said a week before Dee disappeared, Dee told her it was time to talk to a lawyer. Miss Alexander said Dee made several comments about divorce on a number of occasions. Dee also told Miss Alexander on April 24th, 2021, that she was going to tell Dale she was done with the marriage and wanted to sell the trucking company. In the months leading up to Dee's disappearance, Dee also talked to her daughter, Raquel, about getting a divorce. And again, the day before Dee disappeared, Miss Bach was with her mother and told Raquel, that her marriage was over and was going to divorce Dale. The court saw in Dee's own words that she told Dale 2 months before she disappeared that she was done, that she felt controlled, and that it would have to stop or she would leave with their minor daughter. We heard from Dale Warner himself that Dee called him on April 24, 2021, and was upset and said she was done with him and selling everything. Dale Warner also told Zach Brock, Stephanie Vogel, and Deputy Hall that Dee and him got into a big fight on the night of April 24, 2021. It is also very clear that the last time anyone has heard from Dee Warner was on April 24, 2021.
On the night of April 24, 2021, Dee Warner was last seen alive at her home in Lenawee County. That evening, she reportedly told friends and family about her plan to inform Dale that their marriage was over. Dale later admitted to police that they had a heated argument that night and claimed to be the last person to see her alive.
The timeline of events gathered through the cameras and digital footprint analysis of the morning of April 25, 2021 further supports the prosecutor's theory. The morning of April 25, 2021, Mr. Nimerick, while at his truck, sees the Hummer parked in the back of the house at approximately 3:44 a.m. He also notes that he sees the lights are on inside the house. Dale Warner had told the detectives they were asleep by about midnight. The next time frame we learn about is about 6 or 6:30. Dale wakes up, leaves the house, and tells the officers that Dee was asleep on the couch in the living room. In an interview with the detective, Dale indicated there was a way to drive around the house and to the office without being on the camera. The next part of the timeline the court learns about is at approximately 7 a.m., Dale takes the front loader to the back of the house and goes in for whatever reason, and again tells the officers that Dee is sleeping inside when he goes in. But 8 minutes later, his phone is used to unlock her Cadillac Escalade. Her son, Zach, testified that her mother always kept her purse on the passenger seat floor in her vehicle. At 7:14, Dee Warner's phone last connects to the network at the farm. Then Dale leaves the property and sprays the fields, which was corroborated by the John Deere data. He returns and leaves again at 8:47 a.m. Shortly after he leaves, the Milestone app, which was the app for the farm's camera system, is connected 4 times, beginning at 8:49 a.m. Find My iPhone app was also used at approximately the same time. When Dale was asked about these searches, he told the police he was looking for Dee, but according to his other statements, she wasn't missing yet. Dale Warner spoke to Miss Vogel at approximately 10:31 a.m., and that's when he told the detectives he first learned that Dee was missing.
The morning of April 25, 2021, provided critical insights into Dee's disappearance through surveillance and digital evidence. At 3:44 a.m., a witness saw Dee's Hummer parked behind the house with lights on inside. Despite Dale's claim that they went to bed around midnight, his phone unlocked Dee's Cadillac Escalade at 7:08 a.m. By 7:14 a.m., Dee's phone disconnected from the network, marking its last activity. Dale's movements around the property, including using farm equipment and accessing the farm's camera system, raised further suspicion. He later told a friend at 10:31 a.m. that Dee was missing, despite earlier searches on her phone and vehicle. The subsequent investigation revealed no signs of life or activity from Dee after April 24th. Law enforcement searched extensively, including checking her financial, medical, and social media records. Witnesses testified that it was highly unusual for Dee, who was consistently in touch with family and friends, to suddenly stop all communication. Dale's claims that Dee may have left voluntarily or taken her own life were not supported by any evidence. Further investigation uncovered a pattern of controlling and abusive behavior by Dale, including surveillance and physical violence, which added to the suspicion surrounding him. In August 2024, over 3 years after her disappearance, Dee Warner's remains were discovered concealed in a propane tank on a property owned by Dale Warner. Forensic analysis confirmed her identity, marking a significant breakthrough in the case. Following this discovery, Dale was charged with open murder and tampering with evidence. He pleaded not guilty, and the prosecution presented evidence of his controlling behavior and potential motive, as Dee had been preparing to divorce him. A trial date has been set for September 2025, with a pretrial conference scheduled for August 2025. The trial is expected to delve into the evidence, including forensic findings, digital data, and testimonies from Dee's family and friends. Jimmy J. Lee was a vibrant 20-year-old University of Mississippi student, celebrated for his bold fashion, makeup artistry, and active participation in LGBTQ+ events. Known for his energy and creativity, Lee regularly performed in drag shows in Oxford and maintained close relationships with his family, speaking to his mother daily. On July 8, 2022, Lee disappeared under mysterious circumstances, last seen leaving Campus Walk Apartments in Oxford. Despite extensive searches, Lee's body, phone, and keys have never been recovered.
So who was Jay? Well, his friends and family are going to testify. You're going to hear that he was vibrant. He was, that he walked to his own beat. He knew who he was, and he was confident in himself. You're going to hear, obviously we know he was a part of the LGBTQ community. Back then, not going voir dire. And he, like I said, he knew who he was. If he wanted to wear heels that day, he was going to wear heels. If he wanted to wear silk pants, he was going to wear silk pants. But he was more than just that. You're going to hear he's family oriented. He loved his mother more than anything, his whole family. They talked every day, every single day. They talked about what he had going on, she had going on. He was 20 years old. He actually graduated, just graduated from Ole Miss, early, with honors. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear how his little dog that he loved, that he lived up there with, he had for over 2 years.
Timothy Harrington Jr., a 24-year-old University of Mississippi graduate from a prominent family in Grenada County, was arrested and charged with capital murder in connection with Lee's disappearance. Prosecutors presented evidence suggesting Harrington and Lee had been in a romantic relationship and communicated extensively via text messages and Snapchat before Lee's disappearance.
Sometime after he contacted her at 2 a.m., because it was her birthday, he left his house, his apartment, Campus Walk Apartments, in Oxford, Mississippi. It's on campus. For the first time, around 4, sometime in the morning, to go to the apartment to be Harrington. The evidence will further show that that interaction didn't go so well. Jay left, and he was upset. And then, you will see that at 6 a.m., close around 6 a.m., witnesses will testify for the exact time. Jay left for the second time, and the last time, because he never returned to that apartment again. And where was he going? Well, the evidence, ladies and gentlemen, will show he was going to the apartment of Timothy Harrington again. But why? Because Tim, Mr. Harrington, had invited him back over. The evidence will show that Although Jay was upset, Tim had promised that if he came back over, he was going to make it up to him. See that first meeting at 4 earlier? Jay and Tim had sexual contact. And Jay got upset. Tim invited him over to make it up to him. The evidence will show that Tim, he was not openly in the LGBTQ community. In fact, he told officers, I don't do that. What Jay wanted him to do. But despite that, he invited Jay back over with the promise that he was going to do something he never done before.
On the day of his disappearance, Lee contacted his mother at 2 a.m. to wish her a happy birthday. By 7 a.m., when his mother had not heard back from him, she grew concerned and initiated a welfare check. Evidence presented in the trial revealed that Lee left his apartment at Campus Walk Apartments twice that morning. The first time, he visited Harrington's residence, but the interaction reportedly did not go well, leading Lee to leave upset. Later, Harrington invited Lee back, promising to make amends.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will see how the police traced Jay to that apartment. You will see that when Jay gets there, he lets Timothy know he's there. But right before Jay gets to the apartment, when he's headed over, right before he gets there, just a mere minutes, Timothy searches how long does it take to strangle someone. The evidence will further show that Jay never left that apartment on his own. Ladies and gentlemen, the detectives will tell you how they discovered Timothy was a suspect. They will tell you what he did the day after, or the same day after. We're going to walk through all the evidence. And they're going to tell you how we know that Jay is no longer alive. In preparing to speak to you all today, I was looking at some quotes and reading some things like I do, and I saw something and it said, "The rest is silence." Because I was thinking, what makes up a life? Jay's death is in silence. No more financial transactions. No more social media posts. No more contacts with his mother, not checking up on her, not on her birthday. No more contact with his dogs. No more anything. The plans for grad school, to move, the dreams. All proof that Jay is no longer with us. In that proof, that is how we know that we must seek justice. And at the conclusion of the evidence,
the prosecution detailed a chilling timeline supported by digital evidence, showing that Harrington conducted an internet search on how long does it take to strangle someone just minutes before Lee arrived for the second visit. The evidence suggested that Lee never left Harrington's apartment alive. The prosecution also highlighted the absence of any financial transactions, social media activity, or contact with his loved ones after that morning, further establishing that Lee was no longer alive. Surveillance footage revealed Harrington's movements on the day of Lee's disappearance, including the use of a vehicle and a moving company truck in various locations around Oxford and Grenada County. Harrington maintained his innocence and pleaded not guilty. The trial began in late 2024, with prosecutors working to establish a timeline of events and Harrington's involvement.
Keeping up with the investigation, it seems like, by looking over and over again for Jimmy Lee, Oxford Police, Jimmy Lee Ole Miss.
Evidence included digital and physical traces, as well as testimony from family members and witnesses. The prosecution argued that Harrington's actions and communications suggested his involvement in Lee's presumed death. The defense countered, emphasizing the lack of direct evidence, particularly noting that Lee's body had never been found.
I won't ask for a show of hands, but do you think that further deliberation will change that? Is there any hope? Y'all invested a lot of time and effort in this. Everybody else has too. I don't want you tilting at windmills, but at the same time, if you think there's any hope that you may be able to reach a verdict in this matter, I want to ask you to continue deliberation. If you feel as a group that it's impossible to reach a verdict in this matter, I'd like to know that too. You spoke earlier. I don't know if that means you're the spokesman or not, but you spoke earlier. I'm going to, anyone have objection to me talking to the closest you are to me anyway, as to what's your thoughts? What's the jury's thoughts at this time?
I think it's impossible.
You think it's impossible? Do you believe that further let me ask you this a little further. Has your, without telling me which way it is or what count, which charge it is, has your numbers changed in any way?
No.
Do you anticipate that there being any hope of that taking place?
No.
Will further deliberations resolve this? Jury, that other jurors have that same opinion?
Yes.
All right. I thank you for your effort. You've been out there, you've been out 9.5 hours, I think. Have you reviewed all the evidence thoroughly? I'm going to declare a mistrial. I appreciate your effort. And I'm going to let y'all exit through the jury room. We've got the bus here yet?
Yeah,
If the bus is not here, it's almost here.
It's here, Judge.
All right, the bus is here. We're going to carry you back, let y'all get your belongings, and head back to Forest County. I thank you for your service. I know I've asked a lot of you. I'm probably the next couple of weeks going to mail you a letter asking just, not about this case, but if there's anything that we can do to make your experience easier, better, not, as far as your accommodations, your food, if we ever have to do this again, at some point, in some cases, we'll do it again. And y'all are the best judges on how to tell us to improve things. And if you've got any suggestions or things to how to improve our business, we'll do that.
All right, we have been listening to Judge.
After more than 9 hours of deliberation on December 11th, 2024, the jury informed Judge Kelly Luther that they were deadlocked, resulting in a mistrial. Reports indicated the jury was divided 11-1, with one holdout preventing a unanimous decision. Harrington, who had been released on a $250,000 bond, now awaits the possibility of a retrial. Prosecutors have not yet announced whether they will pursue another trial. If retried and convicted, Harrington could face life in prison, though the death penalty has been ruled out. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.